Forbes' real-time snapshot, used for this production, ranked Elon Musk number 1, with an estimated net worth above $800 billion. This episode is not about admiring money for its own sake. It is a business case study. How the fortune was built, what assets drive it, what setbacks shaped it, and what a normal viewer can actually learn from it. Musk's first serious money came from software exits, Zip2 and PayPal. But the fortune that made him the world's richest person came from a much stranger decision. Instead of becoming a diversified investor, he pushed capital and reputation into companies that looked almost impossible. Tesla needed to prove electric cars could be desirable, manufacturable, and profitable. SpaceX needed to prove private rockets could compete with government-backed aerospace giants. Starlink needed to turn satellites into internet infrastructure. xAI and X added another layer, a bet that artificial intelligence, social distribution, and compute infrastructure would become part of the same strategic battlefield. The business pattern is concentration. Musk kept meaningful ownership in companies that could become enormous if they worked. That creates spectacular upside, but it also creates spectacular volatility. A change in Tesla stock, a SpaceX valuation, or investor confidence can move his paper wealth by tens or hundreds of billions. The practical lesson is not to copy the risk blindly. Ordinary people should not confuse concentrated conviction with gambling. The useful lesson is to understand the bottleneck, learn the technical and commercial reality, and build ownership in work that compounds. The major business and asset map is Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, xAI, Neuralink, the Boring Company. The publicly documented lifestyle angle is Austin residence, intense multi-company schedule, public travel connected to Tesla and SpaceX, and a highly visible personal life. The main work principles are first principles thinking, vertical integration, speed of iteration, concentrated ownership. The main setbacks and risks are Tesla production delays, extreme valuation swings, regulatory scrutiny, public controversy around X. Now look at the fortune like an editor reading a balance sheet. The headline number is dramatic, but the mechanism matters more. Elon Musk's wealth is not sitting mostly as cash in a bank account. It is tied to ownership, market valuation, private company estimates, and assets that move as investors reassess the future. That means the fortune can change quickly, sometimes by billions in a day, without the person buying or selling anything. That is why the asset engine matters. In this case, the main map is Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink, xAI, Neuralink, the Boring Company. Each asset tells a different part of the story. Some create operating profit. Some create strategic control. Some create optionality, meaning they may not be the biggest source of wealth today, but they could matter more if the market shifts. There is also a timing lesson. Huge fortunes usually come from being early to a structural change and then staying exposed to it for a long time. The change might be electric transportation, search advertising, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, enterprise software, social networking, sports franchises, or global retail logistics. The public often sees the famous person after the outcome is obvious. The wealth was usually created years earlier, when the bet still looked uncertain. This is where the business map matters. The companies, products, and ownership stakes explain far more than the headline ranking. Viewers should understand the difference between salary, revenue, profit, ownership, and net worth. A billionaire ranking is not the same thing as cash. It is a mark-to-market estimate of claims on businesses and assets. The habit pattern is also worth separating from the mythology. The useful principles here are first principles thinking, vertical integration, speed of iteration, concentrated ownership. These are not magic personality traits. They are repeatable work behaviors. Choosing a hard problem, staying close to the product, using feedback, hiring strong people, managing risk, and making decisions with a longer time horizon than the average competitor. The lifestyle section should stay disciplined. The publicly documented angle is Austin residence, intense multi-company schedule, public travel connected to Tesla and SpaceX, and a highly visible personal life. This belongs in the story because viewers expect it, but it should not become the story. The editorial framing is simple. Lifestyle shows what extreme wealth can buy, while the business engine shows how the wealth was created. The setback section is where the episode earns trust. The known risks and reversals include Tesla production delays, extreme valuation swings, regulatory scrutiny, public controversy around X. These moments matter because wealth stories become misleading when they only show victories. Every empire has pressure points: regulation, execution, public trust, changing technology, debt, competition, succession, or consumer backlash. For ordinary viewers, the lesson is not to imitate billionaire behavior out of context. Most people cannot copy the capital base, access, timing, or tolerance for loss. But they can copy the clearer habits, learn a valuable skill, understand how money flows through a business, build or own productive assets, avoid lifestyle inflation too early, and think in years rather than days. The final beat should be practical, not worshipful. Ask, what did this person understand before most people did? What asset did they own while that insight became obvious to the world? What risk almost broke the story? And what is the smaller version of that lesson that a normal person can actually use? The practical lesson is clear. Wealth at this scale usually comes from ownership in a compounding asset. The viewer does not need billions to use the lesson. They need sharper judgment, useful skills, better risk control, and the patience to build or own things that become more valuable over time.